following is my conversation with Philip Ferger, the newly appointed Managing Director of Fairnamic, the company behind Eurobike. In the conversation today, we discuss the future of the cycling industry's most important trade show. Philip joined Fairnamic just 4 weeks before our conversation, bringing over 20 years of experience from Messe Frankfurt, the world-leading trade fair organizer and co-owner of Fairnamic. With Eurobike facing challenges and undergoing significant changes, Philip offers unprecedented transparency about the show's evolution. We discuss the strategic decisions being made for Eurobike in 2026, the implementation of a new advisory board, and the long-term vision for repositioning the show in 2027. Philip addresses industry concerns about the show's direction, including the balance between mobility solutions and enthusiast-focused cycling products, B2B versus B2C debate, and how Eurobike plans to better serve the industry during challenging economic times. The conversation provides essential insights for anyone in the cycling industry wondering about Eurobike's future and how the show plans to remain the central meeting point for the global cycling business. This is the Business of Cycling podcast. So Philip, thank you for coming on today. I'm really excited to have you guys on to hear more about how things are going along for the event. I know there have been some changes recently. Philip, you came on about 2 months ago, as the MD at Fairnamic, who owns the Eurobike Fair. So, I wanted to come on and hear more about you, who you are, and kind of get a clearer idea of what's happening with the fair. It's, obviously a very important show for everybody in the industry. So maybe just to get started, like we talked about, Philip, can you just tell me a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up, a little bit about your background?
Yes, of course, Wyatt. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to taking part together with you in this podcast. As I mentioned, my name is Philip. I'm now, since December last year, 40 years old. My wife says I've got a problem with the 40, but I do not have. When I have a wife, I'm married. I've got 3 kids. And I'm living north of Frankfurt, between Cologne and Frankfurt. And yes, I'm working for Messe Frankfurt for more than, if I count all my internship, for more than 20 years now. And I learned the trade show business by heart. I've always been working in the trade fair industry. I've always been working for Messe Frankfurt. Maybe something a bit about me personally. As I said, father of 3 kids, I'm very, very connected to my hometown where I live. I've never lived in Frankfurt, in the city. I'm a real guy from the landscape area, from a small village. And I still live there, and I'm very connected to the people over there. And I'm in many clubs where I do voluntary work. I'm in a tennis club. I'm a local politician, if you could say that, where I'm doing voluntary politics work in our city parliament. And I always try to balance these 2 worlds, because the trade show business or the trade fair business is a very, very international, cosmopolitan business world. I'm traveling a lot on the one hand, and on the other hand, I'm really based to a very, very local town where I'm settled with my wife, my kids, my hobbies, my family. And this is balancing me out in a very, very good and smooth way.
Yeah, I know it's a delicate time right now for the show. And so you said that you've been with Messe Frankfurt for 20 years now. How are Messe Frankfurt and Fairnamic connected? Because I see on your profile Fairnamic, you're the Managing Director for Fairnamic, but you also are associated with Messe. Does Messe own Fairnamic, or vice versa, or how does that work? Can you explain that a little more?
I can bring some light in the dark on that. Messe Frankfurt, as the world's leading trade fair organizer with its own venue, is a shareholder of Fairnamic, but not the only shareholder. We are owning half of Fairnamic. The other half is owned by Messe Friedrichshafen, the former location of Eurobike. And so Fairnamic is a joint venture out of Messe Friedrichshafen and Messe Frankfurt. And I stepped in now as a managing director of this joint venture of the company Fairnamic, in addition to my existing job at Messe Frankfurt, where I'm as a vice president. I'm responsible for the whole, we call it consumer goods portfolio. So trade fairs like Ambiente, Christmas World, etc., where I'm responsible still as a vice president.
Okay, so you're handling the Messe Frankfurt's a part of their schedule, a part of those activities, and you're taking on this managerial role for Fairnamic, which is the owner of the Eurobike event. Does
Exactly.
Fairnamic own other events?
Yes, we've got, for example, also the show Aero. It's another show, a B2B show for the aircrafts and air business industry, which is taking place in Friedrichshafen. This is another important show in the portfolio of Fairnamic.
Okay. Well, I guess getting into the meat of the discussion, I know that you came on. I know that the Eurobike Fair has been in the news a bit lately due to some changes to obviously the management, as well as some of the, we'll call it speculation about potential changes and the potential development of the show. So I guess I just want to give you some time to talk about kind of what is happening in this world, in the world of Eurobike. Obviously, like I mentioned, for me and for my audience, it's an incredibly important show. And I guess we just want to know, what's going on, how are things going, what are some of your plans for the show, in your new role?
Yeah, of course I can, Wyatt, and I can promise you and your listeners and readers and your audience that the team around Eurobike, my teams in Friedrichshafen and also the teams here in Frankfurt, together with all the stakeholders around the Eurobike show, are giving full speed and full power that we are going to have Eurobike 26 here in Frankfurt. But as we are always communicating, actually, the Eurobike 26 is an important milestone on a way to a new Eurobike in 27. Why do I emphasize this? Because trade fairs working or in a kind of product lifestyle cycle as well. So every company, every product goes through a lifestyle cycle. And that means that again and again, you have to renew concepts. You have to renew your strategy and you have to renew the way you are doing a trade fair by listening to the industry, by listening to your exhibitors, to your visitors, to important stakeholders like associations, but also to the press. And this is how I do, and how Messe Frankfurt, as my company where I come from, is organizing trade fairs. So what I actually do is to listen to the industry, because to be honest, I'm a newbie in the bike industry. I know pretty well how to do fairs, and I, of course, can ride a bike, but I'm not an expert in the bike industry. So what I have to learn now is how the bike industry is, what are the challenges for the bike industry? What are the needs for exhibitors and visitors? So my task in the last weeks, I mean, I've taken over exactly 4 weeks ago, I've taken over the responsibility as a managing director. My task will be listen, understand, discuss, and decide. So this is what I'm going to do together with the industry to understand what we have to change on Eurobike and how we do the changes. And then we have to decide which changes we can already implement in 26 and which changes take more time to listen, to understand them completely, and to do the right conclusion out of these talks and discussions. So which changes will take a longer time. The and which take a longer time until 27. So how do we do this? First step is that we are again in first talks with the associations. So nothing more. Now we are just starting talks again with the association about the future. The second step is that we've implemented a so-called Eurobike advisory board. The German word for that is Messebeirat. We at Messe Frankfurt are grown up with these advisory boards. These are boards who do not decide anything or who do not own the fair or whatever, but they are advisoring us as a trade fair organizer. And at all our fairs in Frankfurt, we do have these advisory boards. So we implemented this advisory board for Eurobike as well. And part of the board are many European and worldwide representatives from the industry, from the retail side, from other stakeholders as well. And we've just sent out the invitation to the first, let me say, round, or to the first suggestions of participants for this board yesterday. And we are going to meet with this board by the end of February, beginning of March, something like that, to physically meet for the first time with this advisory board to discuss the strategic ideas for 27. And let me name it quick wins or shorter changes for 26. So this will be the first step within the next 4 weeks. And afterwards, we are going to go in further, how we can call it, one-to-one interviews with key exhibitors and visitors, asking them in a standardized interview questionnaire, how do you see the future of Eurobike? What are your needs? What are your demands? Which task Eurobike has to solve for you? Which problem has Eurobike to solve for you? And we do that always in the same way. We will be consulted from a strategic consultancy company as well, who helps us to have it in a standardized way, all the demands. Because what you have to imagine, doing trade fairs always means doing a compromise. You will never make a trade fair where you make everybody 100% happy. So at least our target is to find a solution or an idea where we get the majority of the players satisfied. In parallel, to really show that all shareholders of Fairnamic, so Messe Friedrichshafen and Messe Frankfurt, are really convinced about Eurobike and its strategy. We are pushing this topic really hard. We as Messe Frankfurt also putting in additional capacity from Frankfurt colleagues. So we are giving additional capacity in the Eurobike team actually for the topics of marketing communication, for the topics of event program, etc., but especially also for the so-called international sales. What we are doing is, or what Messe Frankfurt has, is a unique worldwide sales network. What does it mean? Messe Frankfurt is represented in more than 150 countries. So we as a company have either own subsidiaries in important countries or independent sales partner offices who are represented in the different countries, knowing the markets, speaking the language, and knowing the industries. And we are putting all this network now under contract for promoting, communicating, and selling Eurobike. That means that we really give an additional sales and communication push into Eurobike 26, but especially also 27, to make Eurobike even more international, not only on the exhibitor side, but also on the visitor side. So with a clear B2B focus of the show, bringing more and more and more international buyers to Frankfurt. So this, in a nutshell, the mostly brief things we've just started the last couple of weeks.
So it sounds like, to kind of recap, you guys are experiencing some feedback in terms of, I presume, attendance and just kind of the trajectory of the show, so that some changes are being made, which is starting with obviously yourself coming in, bringing in a different perspective, and then you said that you're working with the community, the cycling, your customers, listening to your customers to find what sort of evolution is happening, and that how that the show can come and serve the market better
Exactly.
from this standpoint. What I'm seeing, go ahead, sorry.
So it is very important to understand that way, how we behave that way, because trade fairs are not done by a trade fair organizer. Trade fairs are done by the industry. Yes, we do organize them, but the industry is giving its influence, is giving its needs and demands how a trade fair is. So if you do not organize a trade fair on the demands and needs of the industry, they will no longer come. So at the end, so you have to do it the way the industry needs. You have to find a solution, a compromise, how to bring the different demands and needs together.
Right. And that, I guess, the main changes that you're seeing, what are those, and kind of in your short time, like what are some of the changes that you feel like need to be made, or what are some of the short term kind of quick wins that you're working on now?
Okay, I can tell you this now because we've just sent out a press release on this today. So maybe one important quick win or quick change is that we've listened to the industry the last weeks, and we know that the industry is actually still in a challenging surrounding. And we know that that the industry not always has the chance or the possibility to invest really high budgets in huge and big square meter booths on a trade fair. So what we are doing in a first step is to make Eurobike 26 happen. We condense Eurobike square meter wise. So we are not condensing it or concentrating it on the offer side, on the quality side. So what we do is we concentrate it space wise to not, or how to say, for me it's important that a brand, a supplier, an exhibitor is coming in 26. We don't mind whether they come with 500 square meter or with 50 square meters. What we are supporting the industry, giving solutions to come just with 50 square meters, with plug and play solutions, with stand packages where the exhibitor can take part at the trade fair with a lower budget investment. So in that way, we concentrate Eurobike 26, not, as I said, on a quality or on an offer base, but on the space, on the hall area. So that means that we will occupy hall 8, for example, with the offer of, as we call it, global sourcing. So where the industry, the worldwide, international industry worldwide from sourcing countries meet the demand of the buyers who are seeking for these kind of exhibitors. That will take place in hall 8, and the hall 11 and hall 12 will be dedicated to the quality suppliers, mainly from Europe, of course, and we differentiate between the different halls from how do you call it, from a usage aspect. That means in hall 11 we will have a rather sportive surrounding through all product groups, also being the home for the adventure area, for example, and in hall 12 we will have for all the brands a home for the day-to-day use of the bicycle. So this is in a nutshell the first step we've taken. We are communicating now to our exhibitors. The team is starting the planning actually, or is adapting the planning to these changes. And as I said, we got the huge push from our sales partners who are promoting Eurobike 26 actually.
Yeah. So some of the feedback that I've heard in the market is that there was a bit of dilution in the messaging, in particular around enthusiast type of brands, in a sense that the feeling that we got was that, at least from the market, was that Eurobike was leaning more towards mobility. And so that's sort of like all mobility solutions, last mile, whereas the more enthusiast and the more kind of I guess enthusiast is the best word I can come up with, felt like that there was it was drifting away from that in that regard. Now, it sounds like you're saying that there were some issues from a budget standpoint where there was some kind of misalignment based on the crisis that the brands were going through. So maybe that misalignment happened, it sounds like. And so now what you're trying to do is you're trying to come back with some solutions that are a bit more appealing in terms of investment, as well as the spaces are going to be more clearly defined from a discipline standpoint. Those are a couple of the things you're looking at?
Exactly. And what you are telling about the issues between the hiccups and misunderstandings about product groups from the last mile, etc. These are exactly the strategic and conceptual things we are going to discuss with the advisory board. What is the key? What is the core of Eurobike? Which product groups, which segments, etc. These are the things we want to listen to the advisory board, which is set up very bright and wide. So we want to know what should be the core of Eurobike in the future.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a choice. I mean, another piece of feedback that I can bring you is that, you can't be everything to everyone. And if you try to be everything to everyone, you're going to be,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you at one point you have to decide. I mean, you can be bright in offer, but not deep. Or you are deep in one segment, but then you are not bright. So it is possible. Still, I'm responsible for some big shows. One big show, Ambiente, is starting next Friday. We're with the co-located shows. We're welcoming more than 4,500 exhibitors. So we are bright and deep in the product segment. But this is a conceptual and strategic question you have to decide together with the industry, because the different needs and the different perspectives, why, or targets, why a visitor is coming to a show or why the exhibitor is exhibiting at the show are completely different in the different product categories.
No, I get it. And I think probably the challenge is going to be, can you serve these categories while remaining impactful, deep enough?
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you with fair certainty that everyone I know is going to go. Obviously, not everyone is going to be exhibiting, but what I saw last year was that whoever did exhibit, while there were less exhibitors in the categories that I know, they got much more visibility. So I presume that that'll happen again this year. But I think that the relevance of the show, from my standpoint, is as as high as it's been in the past. But I am seeing regional shows, consumer-facing regional shows, are drawing some of that budget away, I think, is what I'm seeing. I don't know if that's what you guys are seeing as well. But that a pure B2B show in Europe, you guys are still the show from my vantage point.
So this is something else where you have to question yourself whether you are. There is a German saying, whether you are, is it Frank fish or meat?
Yeah, it's if you're fish or it's similar in English. It's or no, it's Italian. It's Italian. actually.
Yeah, so you have to question yourself.
Meter
Do
fish.
you
Are you
want
meter fish?
exactly? You have to question. You have to ask yourself the question whether you are purely B2B, purely B2C, or if you find a good solution of being both. And as
But
what I
again, but again, Philip, you know, you're going to dilute it. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. It's like you can't be everything to everybody. At least
exactly,
in my experience.
exactly. And I want to. This is what I just said is not the future. This is what you have to question
Right.
yourself. I
Yep.
personally, this is my personal opinion. I think you can't be something in between, because then you have, yeah, you have to decide B2B or B2C. So, and what we do for the moment is that we set a pure or very strong B2B focus for Eurobike. We have reduced the festival days from 2 days to 1 day. So there is only the Saturday being open for B2C consumers. How we proceed with that strategy in the future, we will see. We will talk with the advisory board of the different perspectives. What is very interesting, what I'm because again, the parallelity to my other shows I'm responsible for, I've got the same question because especially the big brands, the well-known consumer brands, they are of course interested also in B2C. But the question is, if you find a solution only for 10% of these brands who are interested in B2C, but what you can do is by using online or digital ways, for example, with a clever, smart influencer marketing and influencer management, you could bring all the relevant influencers on the show. And these influencers enlarge your media value, enlarge your participation from a B2B show with the right content online into a B2C world. And you reach even more people digitally with your content and messages as you would reach on a one-day festival on site, no matter which show we are talking about, if it's Eurobike or other B2C events. So this has to be the, in my eyes, the idea for the future, having on site a pure B2B, international B2B focus, but bringing multipliers to your show who can send your message in the,
Podcasts.
yeah, exactly, send the B2C message through the world online digitally, so you use the momentum of the B2B show and enlarging the media value not physically but digitally. But again, this is my idea and I want to bring in these ideas into the advisory board and talk with the bike experts about these topics.
No, this is really interesting. I appreciate your candor. I know this is all very important, the things that you're doing, and I'm happy to have given to bring my audience to understand what's happening because I do get a lot of questions, a lot of group chats that I'm on. What's happening? What do we think? So I think this was a really good fit. So what maybe just to kind of close, I know I want to be respectful of your time. I know you guys are busy, but what can people expect from the 2026 show? Like if there's some things that you want to make sure that people understand about the 2026 show, like what do you want to tell these brands and the people that are following from the B2B space? What is something, maybe a message you would like to give?
The 26th show of Eurobike will be an important milestone on its way of repositioning a new Eurobike in 27. So what our clear message is that we want to bring the world's bike industry together in Frankfurt in June 26. No matter how big, no matter in which way, we just have a target to bring the industry together, to send one clear signal to the world that the bicycle industry sticks together, even in challenging times. And of course, we offer different ways for exhibitors to participate. Either it's in the space and size they want to participate, or if it's just in a, as I said, plug and play way in a really minimum budget investment, or if it's joint areas where some brands participate and present themselves together with a rather lounge and networking character just to meet and mingle. And of course, we put the product in the focus, whereas we will have large presentations outside the halls, again with test and demo tracks, which we will have again on the free space or outside area of the halls, where all bikes and vehicles can be used and demonstrated physically again. And of course, we will have content, a fringe program, events and academies which are dedicated to the needs of the industry in a concentrated and focused way.
Yeah, I'll be there. Hopefully, we've done panels the last 2 years and they've been really successful. So, well, thank you so much for taking the time, you guys, today. Like I said, I think this is important. People want to know what's happening, and I appreciate you taking the time. If people want to reach you, Philip, how can they do that? What's the best way to do that?
So the best way is just try to reach me via LinkedIn, and then I will get back to you on that, either with LinkedIn or I'm sending you my personal email address.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys, for taking the time, and we'll talk again, hopefully very soon, obviously at the show. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you for giving me the chance, Wyatt. All
You
the
bet.
best.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.